Welcome back to the channel. Thank you all for tuning in. I'm going to do a little bit different of a video than what I normally do because not just one of you, but there's been a few of you guys in the comment section asking the same question, which is, how did you make it? How did you find success after being in prison? Now, the reason I haven't really addressed it really is because I don't see myself as somebody who's ultra successful, but I think that's why it's important for me to make this video now, is because I don't want to be a person who made $1 million off of YouTube or merch off of some business or something and then just say, okay, you can just start yourself a business, when it's people who are working people who want to know, how do I do something different? How do I find myself a better career? How do I find myself a better job as a convicted felon? Particularly, there was a comment that somebody left on the video where an individual asked me, how'd you get it out the mud? I've been a felon for 6 years, went to culinary art school, had millions of jobs, can't find a job or a career that I'm eligible for that would pay me more than $22 an hour. Now, if you're watching this video and you've never been to prison, the same steps will apply to you as somebody who has been to prison or hasn't been to prison. But the reason I feel like it's important for me to make this video is because I believe if you're looking for a role model, it's easier for you to find your way if you're listening to somebody who is from where you're from, has been through what you've been through, and is in the place where you're looking to be. Am I the greatest role model in the world?
No, you are not.
But I'm here, and I guess I have a story that I could share that could probably help out some of you. So a little bit about myself. I did 6 years in prison in the state of Ohio for a violent offense. Since then, I was able to get out, work, find myself a career, advance in that career, get married, I have a wife. I've been able to help her actually quit her job and start her own business. Finally, I own my own house, which is probably one of the biggest accomplishments ever to have happened in my life. And I was able to get my gun rights restored. That's something that I never thought would happen. I never thought that a convicted felon would have guns, and let alone somebody but like me having all the tools that I have that I've ever wanted and be able to have as much fun as I want with my firearms. So, but this video isn't about guns. It's about finding success after prison. How do you pick yourself up by your bootstraps with no help whatsoever and make it in an economy that is as rough as the one that we live in today? And I'm going to tell you, it has not been an easy ride. So where do I start? I guess it's with a quote that I guess really stood out to me, and it's a really simple quote, and I'm pretty sure it's one that you guys heard many a times. It was from Teddy Roosevelt, where he says, it's hard to fail, but it's worse to have never tried to succeed at all. I think a lot of us being inmates, we really get discouraged just hearing the stories of so many people who can't find housing, can't get an apartment, can't keep a job, or even get hired at a job because of their felony. But I don't think that that's something that you should allow to deter you from making that attempt and going out there. And if it's filling out an application for a job that you think you're either unqualified for or you think you won't get, go out there and do it anyway. The worst somebody can tell you is no, and the worst thing you can do is to not try at all. But I think the best thing for somebody in our circumstances to do is to find a role model, somebody who looks like us, has been through what we have been through, and is sitting in a place that we want to be. For me, it was a guy whose name was Fitzgerald. May he rest in peace. The state used to operate all its own water plants in the prison, and there was a guy there. He was a black man, and his name was Fitzgerald. And I used to hear the COs complain about it all the time, that he was a black man, he was a felon, and he was making more money than most of the guards that worked in the prison. So my thought was, okay, whoever this man is, I need to figure out what he did, because he's married, he's successful, he owns his own home, he's outside the prison, and these guards hate him, but he's not doing anything wrong. So I learned who he was. I figured out what he did. He had got himself a job as a public servant, working for the state, as a water plant operator. And I was like, I had never heard of this career field before. I never heard of anybody saying, hey, I'm going to treat water. I never thought about how our water makes it into our homes before it gets there. So right then at that moment, I had the mindset that I was going to be a water plant operator. I didn't want anything to do with any of the programs that the prison had or anything like that. I knew what I wanted. So getting out of prison, I worked jobs that I didn't like. I was places that I didn't want to be. I had bosses who I didn't care to be around. But sometimes you just gotta stick that course and continue to grind through all that to get to where you want to be in life. We struggle now so that we can relax more in the future, and that was my mindset with it early on getting out of prison. I remember touching down, getting out of prison. I didn't have money, didn't have clothes, food, a vehicle, had absolutely nothing. But I knew my back was against the wall, and I wasn't going to allow myself to sit there and believe that my back wasn't against the wall. Being able to go home and sit down at my grandma's house, that was the first place that I went when I got out of prison, was back to grandma's. I knew I didn't want to be there. Yes, I had brothers and sisters and family members who were living in their own places, but I didn't want to be that guy to have to depend on others. I think that's a very, very important mindset to have. No matter who you have in your corner, live life like your back is against the wall. Live life like nobody is going to pick you up. Nobody is going to help you if you fail. Now, I'm not saying don't take help. I'm not saying don't receive help from others. Yeah, I stayed places. I slept on people's couches. I had to get help getting back and forth to work once I had a job until I could buy my own vehicle. But live life like your back is up against the wall. Eventually, I did get into the career field. Before I got hired, I was able to study and pass a test to get certified as a water plant operator. Now, there was no schooling required. There was no classes required. There was no college or anything like that. So this is a career field that you can get into without having any prior education, as long as you can study and learn the proper treatment techniques and pass the state certification exam. Something that I want you guys to do is, if you know of any other career fields similar to this one, I want you to drop that in the comment section so that other people can have a resource to have an idea of something that they can do when they get out of prison. So did I have the skills to do any of this before getting into this field? No. But today I sit as the superintendent of 2 separate water districts as a convicted felon. So going back, I don't mean to go back and forth with it, but I felt like that was important for me to tell you guys, is to live like your back is against the wall and to not be afraid to take these chances and apply to positions that you've never done before, because you might find that you may do completely well and just go past anybody's expectations of what they thought that you could do in that particular career field. I started at the bottom. I ended up working my way up. I went through a couple different companies at the time, left a job here, and ended up where I am now. And leaving those jobs was completely on leaps of faith. It took me back to something that somebody had said to me in prison, which is, if you want to be successful, don't be afraid to leave the place that you are. Getting out of prison, I had some of my old homies coming back to me. And when I seen that a lot of them were in the same place that they were when I left, some people were just still into the street life, still into doing some of the things that I saw as a way for me to go back to prison. And that's part of my message. That's part of why I say guard your freedom, because you don't want to let some other person have the opportunity to take your freedom away from you because of something that they did. I know all of us know there's tons of people who are in prison who were just at the wrong place at the wrong time, where one of their friends was doing something dumb, and now they lost 5, 10, 15 years of their life to being incarcerated, and they have to live as a felon. So that is the reason I say guard your freedom, is because you have to think about this from multiple aspects. If I hang out with this dude, is it likely that he's going to put me in a situation where I could end up losing my freedom again? There's 19 million felons in the United States, and that could be a powerful force for us to come together and create more opportunities for felons. But the problem with that is recidivism in the United States is 82% right now. That was the last number that I found, was 82% recidivism in the United States. So that means most of the people who get out of prison are gonna end up going back to prison because they haven't found a way to fix their defective thinking, or they haven't found a way to get themselves out of their environment. So when me and my wife got married, she was living in a place that was over 100 miles away from where I was living at. So I had the choice there to leave my job, everything that I know, everybody that I knew, and to move over 100 miles away from where I was living at, where my family was, where everything was. And it made me think back to that guy in prison who had told me, if you can get away from where you're currently living at, if you can get away from your current situation, then you can go to a new place with the knowledge of the old place, while there's people in the new place that don't have the knowledge of the old place. And this works well in business, it works well in marketing, it works well in just life in general. Coming to a new place with new experience and finding a new beginning. If you have the opportunity as a convicted felon to get away from your current place and your current situation, I would highly, highly, highly recommend that you do that, because it worked out for me. I've seen it work out for other people, and I believe that it could work out for you as well. When I moved out here, I didn't initially get back into the water treatment field. I didn't get back into the career that I had. I had to take a entry-level job, and this job was for one of the local cities. I was shoveling coal patch, fixing holes in road, digging graves. It was hard toil, nothing that I liked about the job where I was at, but it was money that was coming in to pay the bills. Eventually I was able to apply for another water job. I ended up getting it. Even along that way, I worked in truck stops. There was times that I worked 2 jobs, and even currently right now I still work 2 jobs, because growing up the way I grew up, my dad, he really battled with addiction, and I never seen him work a straight job ever in his entire life. And because of that, we remain dirt poor. I believe for my kids, I would rather sit here and work 2 jobs than to allow them to go through what I went through. And there's a couple other things I can get into if you want me to talk about credit, getting out of debt, because while I was in prison, my identity got stolen. So when I got out of prison, I had a bunch of credit card debt, and my credit score was mud. If you want to know more about that, let me know. But I just wanted to make this video to let you know that it is definitely possible for a person from our situation, being a convicted felon, violent convicted felon, to get out of prison and completely change their life and find success. I've only been out 4 years. I don't see myself as somebody who's ultra successful, but I'm glad I'm able to make this video for you guys before I get to that point, because I feel like it's more real this way, as opposed to me being some millionaire who blew up on social media, or who has some business or something that's less attainable than what I have now. To be able to share this story with you now, I feel like this is more impactful and more important, to show you that yes, it's going to be hard. Yes, you're going to have to struggle, and yes, you're going to have to work really hard. But if you make the right decisions, and if you set goals for yourself, you can definitely make it. You can do it. I mean, I'm here, and I want everybody else here in the comments, if you could please do me a big favor, because I do read my comments. I want some of you guys to share your success stories. If you're a felon and you made it to a point where you feel like you're successful, I want you to share that story down in the comments, because it can motivate somebody else. It can give somebody else an idea or a spark to understand what career path to go, what way to go. I think for me, it was a quote where it says, when you start believing in yourself, other people will start believing in you. I didn't know a whole lot about this career field that I was going into, but I went into it with a whole lot of confidence. I've never walked into an interview and telling a person, I don't know this, I don't know that. Fake it till you make it. Eventually, you're going to learn these skills. Eventually, you're going to learn how to do this job. but don't let that stop you from taking that step and trying to achieve something that you've never achieved. Thank you all for tuning into the channel. If this video helped you out, if you got some inspiration from it, please subscribe to the channel, and don't forget, guard your freedom, my friend.